Makwanda, live on Salam Media.
Welcome back. You are listening to the Maher Mukwenda Show on Salam Media. It is 11:31 on this Tuesday morning, the 15th of September, 2020. Wow, hey guys. So recent protests, we've seen the recent protests about Black Lives Matter and other protests also that was about race. And these protests have piqued at the interest of everyone, despite the person's age, the person's ethnicity, the person's race, the person's religion. Everybody has been so engrossed into these protests. Such protests do spark questions from kids. Kids want to know what is going on. And you need to explain to them exactly what is going on as a parent. But how do you go about talking to them about race and racism? How do you go about telling them that, okay, they are fighting to survive as Black people because Black people are being killed by white policemen in the United States of America, etc., and also close to home and regarding the apartheid situation and how it's always a race war, and the click saga with the hair issue that was going on. And kids pick up these things, when they're at home, they learn about race and racism, and it's up to you as a parent to ensure that you raise anti-racist kids. So joining me on the line right now is educational psychologist Claire Maher, just to talk more about this topic on talking to kids about race and racism. Good morning, Claire.
Morning, Mariam. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining me this morning. All right, so first of all, let's start off by talking about why is it difficult for parents to talk to their kids about race and racism?
I think that it's a topic that parents don't want to broach unless they absolutely have to, but actually one of the topics that should be broached without them having to do so. And I think the reality is that it can be an uncomfortable conversation to have. It can be one where lots of questions might come up and parents might be sitting with their own biases and their own kind of reasons or experiences that might limit them from wanting to have that conversation with their child. But at the same time, one that needs to come up because obviously we're in a society, and certainly in South Africa with the Rainbow Nation, that it's something that needs to be addressed all the time, really, and with no time like the present, I would say.
Definitely, and no time like the present, especially with the ongoing conflict that is going on. So, what children actually understand about race?
So I think that there's varying degrees of what children understand depending on the age that they might be. And obviously when we talk about race, we're not necessarily talking about racism, although in the end they do somehow seem to blend and merge. Children as young as sort of 3-4 months will recognize a different skin color to their own, and will start sort of perceiving a preference or displaying a preference rather to their own skin color, and that's across the sort of racial groups. And so that's a natural kind of developmental stage, I suppose, that happens whether we like it or not from as early on. And I suppose what it comes to later on is rather than, you understand that there is a difference, and you understand, you accept and you acknowledge color differences because there are. To say that there aren't and to say that I don't see color is not possible, because we do. But it's what we do with seeing those differences that makes all the difference. And so I think that there, from as early on, there is that acknowledgement that there are people who are different to us in terms of what they look like. And that understanding is always there in terms of race and racial groups. Race is often linked to culture as well. So it's a case of, as we learn, we develop different understanding of different cultures. But as I say, racism is something that's different and can be understood on varying levels, I guess.
All right. So how do you talk to your kids about race? How do you start with this conversation?
So like I said just now, I think that talking about race is one of those conversations that you need to bring up. There's certain topics as parents that maybe we wait until a child is of age to bring it up. And that's not to say that you need to bring it up in terms of making an issue where there might not be one, but to bring up the fact that there's a certain amount of learning that needs to take place from early on of where various people within our culture have come from and within our society have come from, and their experiences that they've had based on race. And it needs to be a conversation with our children of creating a learning, every moment to be teachable, I guess, of bringing it up and explaining to our children that within our country and within our society, there are varying different groups of races, and how we might have been affected based on our race. Historically is always important, I suppose, to bring those conversations up with our children so that they can use that knowledge within their interactions, not to use it, we don't want them to use it negatively, but to use it in the understanding of people and who they might encounter in their various social or scholastic maybe interactions.
Mm-hmm. And what are parents supposed to say, and what should they avoid saying?
So I think that in my mind, at the core of it all is an empathy for people. It's an accepting, it's an acknowledging. So as I say, it can be a conversation that comes up or one that might be stemmed from something that happens. A child, as children will ask questions, say within a shopping mall, of why a person might look different, might be related to race. It could be why a person's in a wheelchair or whatever the case might be. And to use those moments to explain to children how there might be differences, but that also at the core of that is empathy, is understanding. And it's not just about tolerance, it's about accepting, and it's about accepting people who might be different, and that people are no different on the inside depending on kind of what the color of their skin is, and how everybody deserves equal opportunity, and certain children at school shouldn't not be played with because of the color of their skin. You know, if they're being nasty, it's a different story, but because of the color of their skin shouldn't be a reason to not be played with. And I think it's hard to give an exact kind of memo as such of what needs to take place, because it also depends on the parents' explanations, the parents' experiences of these conversations already, of their own experiences, and also what the child might be bringing in terms of what they're inquiring about or what they're needing to know.
Mm-hmm. I know sometimes kids ask odd questions, especially in public, like
Sure.
why is this person dirty? I mean, to them, they see it as dirt, but it's actually not that. So as a parent, how would you talk to them or address them in such a way, especially in public?
So I think, to use that example where the understanding behind it is coming from a very naive place. It's not an association of dirt with black or with a person of color, but just a lack of understanding of what the actual reason is that this person might look different to me. And I think that in that space, it's a perfect teachable opportunity for parents to say, remember how we've spoken before about the fact that there are different race groups and people are made with different color skins. And this person's not dirty. This person is somebody who is from a particular race group, and maybe use that as a moment. And I think in public is important, provided that it's not chastising the child, because you also, if it is something that's been made aware of to the general public who might be around, you also want to send a message to those people that within your family, you are a family that will teach and will allow for your child to learn, and won't put up with comments that might be seen as degrading or oppressive, but that you are open to teaching and helping your child understand better. But as I said, it also very much depends on the nature of the conversation that needs to take place. And obviously, we want to err against punishing or disciplining our children in public if that's what's needed, but also to open up that conversation when it needs to be happening.
Mm-hmm. Now, when it comes to schools, what can parents do to address the situations? I know we've seen on the news about kids who were segregated or discriminated against because of the color of their skin, made to sit separately to other kids. So obviously, when you see such things happening, you become very upset, very angry that your child is discriminated against. But obviously, we need to be able to deal with issues like this amicably, so that it's a win-win situation for everyone, and we solve the problem at hand, which is the discrimination.
So I think that, there's not necessarily that we're talking about two groups, because I think especially in South Africa, people of color and white people, I mean, we've got so many different colors as such, but I think that the nature of these difficulties is that it's people of color in our country who are oppressed in those environments, and they are the ones who are subject to racial segregation, etc., in schools even today, unfortunately. And I think there's two parts that the various roles as such can play, and that would be for parents of the children who are being segregated or are having made sort of racist remarks against them, that these parents are encouraged to bring this to the attention of the school and follow through the various sort of processes, even if it means going as far as a board level or school governing body level. And then it comes down to the parents, the other parents, and I hate to use the other and the they and the us, but it comes down to then white parents to also stand up for what they believe to be wrong in those situations. And when they see something like that happening, to be the upstanders of observing and acknowledging and saying no, that this is not okay and that we won't tolerate this within our school, to have this sort of segregation taking place. And so a large portion about it is the speaking up, which understandably can be very difficult for people of color, I think, as well, in terms of standing up against what's already sort of being oppressed within the school. But having those conversations, making it known, and again, as uncomfortable as it is, and earlier, in the year and throughout the year, really, of various revelations coming through from various schools of stuff that people didn't really know was happening and has come to the fore. And I think that it's so important that be acknowledged and dealt with and accepted as truth and not argued away, I suppose, as something that can be explained.
And no child is born a racist. Race and racism is something that is taught, and it's up to us as parents to make sure that we teach our kids the correct thing. We teach them to know about people of different race groups, of different ethnicities, different cultures, and Heritage Day is almost upon us, so why not start now?
Absolutely. I think that, the teaching is absolutely important to learn, all the time, to be learning, not just in the moments where your child has done something that could be considered to be racist or racially oppressive, but to always be learning about cultures, experiences, history, what we've gone through as a country, what different race groups have gone through. And I think, as well, as you say, to have those conversations at home, but to also have the conversations at home of what is not acceptable. And that comes down often to the generation of adults at the moment and older, sort of our older population, where we need to also be upstanders within our homes to say this joke is not acceptable, or it is not okay to talk in such a way, because what happens at home filters out into the outside, and we can't be shocked when our children are accused of making racial remarks at school if we're making jokes at home. So I think that there's a lot of work that needs to be done in terms of how we as adults and as even older than what I myself deal with these sort of topics, so that those attitudes and experiences filter into our children.
And the fact that as parents we are making these jokes and laughing about them at home, it seems as though it's okay to make these jokes and remarks, and then when kids go out there and say them and do the whatever gestures or such remarks, we get upset. We get upset when our kids are emulating what we've said and done, yet we do it right in front of them. We say it right in front of them. So what examples are we setting for our kids if we are going to be doing such things and laughing about it in front of them? All right.
Absolutely.
Well, that's all the time that we have, but thank you so much for your time,
Thanks,
Claire.
Erin, for having me. Thanks, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye. That was educational psychologist Claire Maher talking to us about race and racism and how to talk to your kids about this problem. Guys, talking to your kids about race can be difficult, but it is something that you need to do, and you need to stop avoiding talking to them about race. It is going to happen at some time sooner or later, and you don't want to be that parent who is caught with your child making funny remarks, racist remarks, because they did not know what they were saying or what they were doing. And you need to teach them how to become an anti-racist, And how do you go about it? Teach your child about equality. Teach them that everybody was created equal and everybody was created in the eyes of God. Everybody was created specially, and everybody has their own unique talents. Everybody is different, but they are also unique. My skin color is no better than your skin color, And in Islam, the Prophet says that an Arab is not superior to a non-Arab, and a non-Arab is not superior to an Arab. So basically, none of us are supposed to be superior over each other based on the color of our skin. We're all here in this world and we all serve a purpose. And let's live up to our purpose. And most importantly, to teach our kids about race and racism, and teach them how to become anti racist. And it means to teach your child about human rights, teach them about human rights. And we have a whole bill of rights in South Africa about the right to education, the right to freedom of speech, the right to this, the right to that. There is a whole lot, and teach them about it and how everybody deserves to be treated fairly, whether it's by peers, by teachers, by parents, by members of society. Everyone deserves to be treated equally and fairly. Teach your child that everybody deserves an equal chance at achieving, and should not be hindered because of their race, gender, and equality. And now, as a country in South Africa, we have a long way to go when it comes to opportunities and everybody getting equal opportunities. Sometimes women don't get as many opportunities as men. Sometimes black women don't get many opportunities as people of any other race. Black women, black men. Uh, it's really difficult out there. It is, and your gender can hinder your opportunities. Your abilities can hinder your opportunities, and your race as well as religion. Now it also hinders your opportunities, but everybody has the right to be treated fairly and given fair opportunities and chances. Also, it's important to actually talk about race and the differences. You cannot ignore these areas with your children. If you don't talk about race with your children at home, somebody else will outside the home. It is important to acknowledge that racism is not a thing of the past, but it is active in our society. It's not apartheid. It's not just about apartheid. It's happening now, you know. And it will continue happening as long as people know that they are different based on the color of their skin. Racism will continue to happen. Children do notice the differences in others' skin color from as early as 4 months old. Yeah, a 4 month old know that another person is holding them, a person of a different skin color is holding them. And thereafter, they develop a preference of the color of the face that is the same as theirs. From as young as 3 years old, children are aware of different races and skin colors, and due to their age, questions will begin. Race might be easier to talk about, but racism is more complicated. You are listening to the Mari Mukonda Show on Salam Media. Please leave your comments, questions, queries, or suggestions in the comments section. We are live on Facebook. You can also send them to us on WhatsApp. The number is 0617660355. It is 11:49. We will be right back.